It's time for another AEW news update, and it's been a few days since the last one, so we've got quite a lot to get through in today's video. As an AEW wrestler is out injured for up to a year, and Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley talk about a possible working relationship with WWE. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first, let's quickly run down the card for this week's episode of AEW Dynamite, which was taped last week at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. Hangman Page will take on Isaiah Cassidy of Private Party. Britt Baker will take on Nyla Rose as part of the AEW Women's Eliminator Tournament. Brian Cage and fellow Team Taz member Ricky Starks take on the Varsity Blondes. The Inner Circle's Jake Hager will likely squash Brandon Cutler. Jon Moxley wrestles Ryan Nemeth. And Lance Archer and Rey Fenix will fight it out to decide who goes to AEW Revolution as part of the Face of the Revolution ladder match. So far in the ladder match at the pay-per-view, Cody, Penta El Zero Miedo and Scorpio Sky have all been confirmed, with 3 more names set to be added to the match. And the winner of the ladder match will get a TNT title shot at some point in the future. At AEW Revolution 2021, Jon Moxley will challenge Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. The match will take place in an exploding barbed wire deathmatch, a stipulation never before seen in any top American promotion. Moxley recently spoke on the Wrestling Observer Radio and revealed the match was in fact not his idea and it was brought to him by somebody else in the company, and he said, "When this was brought to me, quite some time ago actually, I wasn't going to turn it down. Really? We can do that? Hell yeah. It was brought to me, I was like a kid in the candy store. I have a standard that I have to live up to. One thing I can't stand is promising something and not delivering to fans. When I tell you some wild stuff is going down, I'm going to deliver on it. I made it clear to Tony, don't put me in these stipulations unless you want me to go full tilt. Be careful what you wish for. I'm not in the business of under-delivering on promises." Moxley then revealed that the stipulation was something he had pitched to management during his WWE run as Dean Ambrose and said, "I always pitched wacky, creative, violent things. I was like, it's not that bad, trust me, it's gonna be cool. Something simple like tearing the canvas off and exposing the boards. I pitched that for a Hell in a Cell 2014 match, and Triple H and Vince McMahon and Seth Rollins, they look at me like I was stupid. They didn't get it at all. Vince is like, I don't think people are gonna understand it. They looked at me like I was an idiot. It always works, trust me, people are gonna go nuts. It's gonna be great. It's different and we've never done it in Hell in a Cell." Of course, they said no, like every other idea. And with that said, interestingly, WWE in fact did expose the boards of the ring in a Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar, which was around a year after Moxley's pitch. So it seems Vince did think it was a good idea, just not for Dean Ambrose. Moxley and Omega used this spot in their Lights Out match at Full Gear 2019 as well, which gave Mox the chance to finally get his wish. Kenny Omega recently took part in an interview with Talk Sport and discussed the much anticipated AEW console game. He spoke of the challenges the team are facing during the development and said, "The biggest challenge we have right now is kind of representing the current wrestling style in a way that makes it feel like the games of old. Because things have changed, it's not the same wrestling climate as it was in 2000. Let's make sure we're able to make it feel like this is wrestling in 2021, but it can still be fun for not only the wrestling fan, but the casual gamer who picks up a controller and drops his friend on his head." Kenny mentioned that the game will include downloadable content as to keep it up to date with the current product. This likely includes new wrestlers, arenas, belts, and potentially modes. Omega went on to say that they hope to be releasing the game in early 2022, so in around 1 year's time. And if you're enjoying the video so far, why not help me out and drop a like down below, and also subscribe as we try to reach 10,000 subscribers. But let's get back to the news. He did mention that it is important that the project is not rushed as to make sure the game is 100% ready, and mentioned the recent disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077 of an example of what they want to avoid. He said, "We don't want a Cyberpunk launch, so we're going to create something that will be fun to play from day one, but it will be ever evolving as our roster is." And Cyberpunk isn't the only game that was recently rushed to release, with WWE 2K20 being released before it was actually ready for public consumption. So let's hope AEW take their time with this release, even if it does take a year or two. If they did release a rushed game, it would not look good on them and could potentially harm any future sales of any other games that they do release down the line. So first impressions are always important, and let's hope that they continue to keep that in mind. AEW have revealed on Twitter that a certain wrestler has received some heartbreaking news from their medical team. They revealed that the Dark Order's Anna Jay will be forced out of the AEW Women's Tournament and that she requires shoulder surgery and is expected to miss 6 to 12 months. AEW tweeted, "Anna Jay was injured training and can't compete tonight. Anna requires shoulder surgery and is expected to miss 6 to 12 months. She's replaced in the tournament by alternative Mada Renkowski, a student and protege of Thunder Rosa." Anna then responded to the breaking news by tweeting, "I'm super upset about this. All I can do now is put in the work to come back stronger. Thanks for all the love and support, everyone. It means a lot. And I'd like to wish Anna a speedy recovery, and I look forward to seeing her back to full health and back in the ring." The AEW champion Kenny Omega recently spoke with TalkSport to discuss a number of topics, one of which was a potential working relationship between AEW and WWE. This has been a topic that has come up quite a lot over the past week, with Cody Rhodes also publicly discussing it. Much like Cody, Kenny feels there is business to be done. He cited conversations with Triple H during his negotiations with WWE before ultimately choosing AEW, and believes Hunter's recent comments about being open for business when it comes to working with other promotions. He said, "From when I did speak at length with Triple H, it really felt like he understood a lot of my thought process. He definitely got it. So when he does say things like he's open for business, I do think if there is a situation which could maybe eliminate some of the worries and fears from the other people that have a say in making these things happen, I do see it being a reality. We want to make this a fun thing for everyone, and if that includes working with literally everyone, which I think would make everyone happy, then I'm all for it, and I would lobby very hard for it. Fight tooth and nail to make it happen." EVPs Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes aren't the only AEW wrestlers to publicly discuss this possibility as we move on to our final story of the day. Jon Moxley recently spoke with Inside the Ropes to discuss the working relationship between AEW, New Japan, and Impact. He then went on to discuss the true forbidden door, the one between WWE and AEW. As we discussed earlier on, Kenny Omega feels like a relationship between the two companies really is possible, but the former Dean Ambrose feels like it's never gonna happen. Speaking with Inside the Ropes, Moxley said, "That would never happen. That's not even worth wasting any mental energy to, you know? I mean, if you want to fantasy book some cool stuff, you know, maybe you could fantasy book it for like fun magazine stuff, you know? Like back in the day in magazines, you used to always have like dream matches, Bill Goldberg versus Steve Austin in '98, but that ain't gonna happen. It'd be cool to think about cool stuff that could happen, you know? Like a big summit at the Tokyo Dome, AEW, New Japan, WWE, but that ain't gonna happen. So, you know, they do their thing, they stay over there. And as I've said on the channel before, there's no chance that WWE will ever shine their light on AEW. That's especially true as long as Vince McMahon runs the company, and I think even if Triple H does take over, I still can't see it happening, and I think he would rather crush AEW than help them rise. It's maybe possible if there was some sort of clause that would see them buy out AEW should they ever be sold, and this is much like the deal they had with ECW in the late 90s, before WWE eventually purchased their assets following their closure in 2001. This is the kind of deal that WWE are rumoured to have with their affiliate promotions in Europe, who are said to have agreed to work with WWE to help them financially, with WWE having first refusal on buying them should they ever be for sale. And this is a clause that we saw recently when WWE purchased Evolve. So if something like that was in place, it's maybe a possibility, but yeah, literally I can't see it ever happening. But who do you agree with more, Kenny Omega or Jon Moxley? Let me know in the comments down below.